Good afternoon, or good evening rather. I'm going to call the City of Groton public hearing for Monday, April 20th to order. This is pursuant to State of Connecticut Executive Order Number 7B, Protection of Public Health and Safety During COVID-19 Pandemic and Response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14th, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings will be closed to the public at this time. Public meetings will be televised in real time on Groton Municipal Television, Channel 2, and online. Budget questions and comments may be submitted to mayor at cityofgroton-ct.gov before noon on April 20th, 2020. Please include your name and property address on all emails. So Clerk Patrick, please call the roll.
Present are Mayor Keith Hetrick, Councilors Lisa McCabe, Reginald Stanford, Guinevere Depot, Minerva Ortiz, Rashad Carter, Finance Director Ron Uhas, Clerk Deborah Patrick. Excused is Deputy Mayor Jamal Beckford.
Okay, this is the public hearing to solicit input concerning the City of Groton proposed FY 2021 budget from the electors of the City of Groton and all others qualified to vote. This is the mayor's budget message, fiscal year 2020-2021. As required by Article 6, Section 2A of the Charter, I submit to you the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021, FY 2021. I'm submitting a budget which includes a decrease of $1,513,003 in comparison to FY 2020. The large decrease in the proposed budget is based on a prior year increase in building permit revenues. This budget also includes contractual services for assistance with the additional inspections that may be required. These additional contractual services will be funded through the use of fund balance based on unexpected contractual services that were budgeted for in FY 2020. The budget also follows the FY 2020 budget with funding for capital projects and continues efforts to reserve funds for future purchases of vehicles. The use of the undesignated fund balance will be at $1,850,000. This will leave a healthy reserve of 23.07%, slightly more than FY 2020. Proposed budget would produce no change in the mill rate, maintaining the mill rate of 4.30. The city continues to be fiscally responsible. I have no public input. I will ask the council as citizens, is there any public input from any of the council members as a citizen?
Councilor Carter has a question.
Okay, Councilor Carter?
This is for the budget in a whole, correct?
Yes.
I was just looking at, it's just a general inquiry. So, the administrative positions in the, they're all salary, correct? Or are they hourly? Like, so mayor, secretary, etc. Those are all salary positions?
It depends. Some are salary, some are hourly, some are union, some are non-union.
Okay, I was just asking because I know for some administrative positions, I gotta change to the page. I'm sorry. And I probably know this, or you probably answered this question last year or the year before. So there's an actual and a budgeted, correct?
That is correct.
So I guess my question is, so for a salaried position, right? Because there's a budgeted salary, and then there's an actual. And some of those actuals weren't they have not reached the budgeted.
Well,
So
that's true. That's based on an annualized figure at this time. So it's the actual number.
So I guess I hear that. So I guess my question is, if it's budgeted in there, right, and it's a salary position, when would there be a circumstance where that position would actually hit the budgeted amount? Like, how come the salary positions overtime, or I don't even know how to ask the question. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like there's a budgeted amount, right? But then there's an actual amount. So I understand how if there was an hourly position, if an hourly position reached the budget, but I don't understand how a salary position wouldn't meet the actual.
This is Counselor McCabe. If the salary position person perhaps left in the course of the year or went on leave, unpaid leave for some reason, that would be a case where they wouldn't match up.
Yeah,
No, I understand that.
but
I'm talking about how would they go?
well,
about it, though?
let me get you to hold off on that question until we get to in the budget, and then you can look at a specific line item, and we can answer that question better then.
Oh, it's not, sir. I just had a question. I just didn't understand why you was asking. I mean, I understand why in that instance, you know, somebody went on leave and whatnot, but I mean, I would assume that there would be benefits involved in that anyway. But I just yeah, we can go ahead and move on. We can move on.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the public hearing? Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. Counselor Stanford.
Okay, we have a motion. Councilor Depot second, so we have a motion and a second. Stanford, Depot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We are adjourned. We will now proceed into the City of Groton Special Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2020.
We need to try to get the volume on that better because it's not picking up very well.
All right, I'm gonna try this again.
Thank you.
Okay, the call is on hold. Okay, can I have someone speak? They can't hear me. Is that what it was? It was down? Can I have someone speak? Okay. So it's operator error. I didn't have that up enough. All right, Councilor Stanford, could you speak again, please?
Counselor Stanford.
Okay. Are you better?
Oh, that's much better, thank
Okay,
you.
we have this. All right, now, this is the special mayor and council meeting in response to the State of Connecticut Executive Order 7B, protection of public health and safety during COVID-19 pandemic, in response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings will be closed to the public at this time. Public meetings will be televised in real time in Groton Municipal Television Channel 2 and online. Okay, Clerk Patrick, please call the roll.
Present are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Finance Director Ron Uhas, Clerk Deborah Patrick. Present via telephone are Councilors Lisa McCabe, Reginald Stanford, Guinevere Depot, Minerva Ortiz, Rashad Carter, and excused is Deputy Mayor Jamal Beckford.
Okay, please stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We did better than the RTM. Okay, are there any recognitions, awards, and memorials? Okay, I have one. I would like to recognize Groton Utilities for, they've just earned the Reliable Public Power Provider designation, and that's the RP3 award. They have received that. It will be official. It's actually official now, and so congratulations to them. All right, approval of minutes. I need a motion for the March 23rd, 2020 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Council Depot, so moved.
We have a motion.
Stanford second.
We have a motion and a second. Depot, Stanford. Any discussion, changes, revisions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. I need a motion for the April 13th, to approve the April 13th, 2020 Special Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
Council Depot, so moved.
Council Stanford second.
So we have a motion by Depot, second by Stanford. Any changes, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, we're gonna move to communication and reports. These are city budget presentations. The first one will be general government. That starts on page 9 of your budget books, and it's under its own tab. So in this section, it's mostly the same as before, with the exception of, if you go to page 21, under the administration section, well, there's administration section starts on 20, but on page 21, under the cost center, you'll notice 003 of the elections has been increased by $13,000, and that's for the election for next year.
Is there a particular reason for it, this increase? This is Councilor McCabe.
Yes, that's for next year's election. So on the odd years, you will see an increase of $13,000 so that we can have the municipal election.
Oh, okay, I hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay? Are there any other questions? Any other questions or comments on the general government section? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to Parks and Rec, which starts on page 90. Okay. So let's go to page 90. And just a reminder, Parks and Recreation is broken down into 2 sections. So Mary, I'll let you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So on the recreation side of our budget this year, we have a 6.03% increase. This is the side of the budget where summer employment for the playground program and for the beach come out of. As some of you know from previous discussions, minimum wage went up in October to $11 an hour. None of our entry-level staff members were making $11 an hour, and some of our supervisory positions were making just $11 an hour or a little over. So adjustments were made in the line items, cost centers for playground and beach operations. The playground is the larger one of the two at $19,440, and this is to keep the level of service that we currently have with our summer playground program. The other increase was for beach operations at $5,763 to keep the beach operating. This was something we knew was coming. This is something that's going to continue to come and affect this budget due to the fact that minimum wage will be at $15 come 2023. This hits the beach a little bit in regards to the fact that the beach, if we open, will be open through September 7th, and the minimum wage will go up September 1st to $12 an hour. There's some increases in salaries regarding union contracts under leadership, and those are the three areas of increase for the recreation side of the budget.
Any questions?
Ortiz, what's the number on that page?
Which page are you looking for?
The one that we're talking about right now.
The
The
95,
12?
94.
page 94.
Oh, that's why. Got it, thank you.
Any other, go ahead, Counselor McCabe.
Yes, I was just wondering about the increase to the general fund. Can you, tell me a little bit about that?
You mean from the financing plan?
No, on page 94, there's an increase from.
Yeah. Okay,
the
so,
2020
so this is under,
budget to the plan.
okay, thank you. So on page 94, the general fund, if you look under the financing plan, we have the expense portion, and then we have how are we gonna pay for it. In the financing plan, we have the trip collections, the beach receipts, the recreation receipts, the rental of the Zabierski house, and then the general fund basically picks up what's left.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the recreation portion of Parks and Rec? Okay, we'll move to maintenance.
So our maintenance side, which is all our maintenance, taking care of all our fields, our facilities, our buildings, and also encompasses all our insurances and pension, comes all out of the maintenance side of the budget. This actually went down, but it mainly went down because my capital plan went down. I did have some increases in salaries under Parks and Ground, really all my Parks and Grounds, beach maintenance, and athletic fields, and that's just due to union contracts. I had a new staff member start in December of 2018. I was not aware of the increases they get in their step development every 6 months. And then also with union negotiations with contracts. So that's built in there, so we have the monies to pay our staff that do all the maintenance on our fields and our buildings. There is a few revenue sources that come in from the park, which will help Lisa, I believe, understand the general fund part of that. The other area, like I said, we went down because I had $132,800 of capital improvement last year. I only have $90,000 of capital CIP programs this year, so that's helped this budget kind of stay where it's kind of the same as it's been in the past. The service level of service will continue at the current standard that we have.
Questions on the maintenance portion?
Councilor Ortiz here. It's a little bit for me, it was hard for me to listen. I don't, it's like an echo. Maybe it's my phone, maybe she's not right on the microphone.
Okay, all right, we'll be sensitive to that as we move forward,
Thank you.
okay?
And also, if, would it be possible if you, just say the page number you're discussing before you start?
Absolutely,
Thank you.
okay, not a problem. We will make sure we do that to make it easier. You're right, we're not in here and we're ready to go. We'll make sure we're recognizing the page number. Any other questions or comments on Parks and Rec? Okay, so that's done. Thank you, Mary.
Thank
The next
you.
one will be sanitation, which is Tim. That's on page 76.
Good evening, everyone. This is Tim Omers. My proposed budget for this year is $1,253,185. This is a 19.48% increase. There's several reasons for that. One is starting January 1st, all sanitation, all trash will be going to Wheelabrator in Lisbon instead of Route 12, where we take it now. So this is a about 44-mile round trip. So I figured in for the extra fuel and labor costs for that. Also, my sanitation trucks right now are designed for pretty much going in circles. My 2003 that I want to replace has 118,000 hours, not miles, but hours. I'm sorry, 18,000 hours on it. And our trucks are, like I said, designed for street use, for going in circles and getting on highway on 395. We're not going to be able to keep up with speed. It's going to be a slight problem. And my oldest truck is my fastest truck on the road, but it needs to be
I
replaced.
know you have a page.
Yeah, we're basically, at this point, we're on 78.
Thank you.
I've got $150,000 put in for that new truck. We had $50,000 budgeted last year for the truck. That's the biggest increase in this, and with the fuel cost and a little more labor to push this out.
So it is a 19% increase, but if you back out the $150,000, which is on page 78 under cost center 006, that makes it a little more palatable. It takes you down to 1,100,000, which is only $100,000 more. And then if you go over to page 79, under personnel services, you'll see that the employees are about 2.4% increase, and the non-departmentals benefits are about 4.1% increase. And then that's under personnel services. And again, on page 79, if you go under operating expenses, under tipping fees, they went from 208,000 rather to 275,000. And then the, where am I? The diesel fuel went from 24,000 to 36,000. So those are our largest increases due to the, for this budget, and that's what brings it up to 19%. I realize when you look at it initially, there's a sticker shock, but when you break it down, you see why it is explainable.
This is Councilor
This is Councilor Depot. Can I ask a question?
Councilor Depot, go ahead, and then Councilor McCabe, I'll get you next.
So what is the reason we switched that vendor that's gonna cost us so much more money?
We are part of SCARA as a result of being a borough of the town. The town is a founding member of SCARA, and SCARA negotiated this new contract on all the members' behalf, I guess is the right answer. So this was not something that we negotiated individually. SCARA went out and went to Wheelabrator. It is Wheelabrator, right?
Yes.
Is going to Wheelabrator up in Lisbon, as opposed to where we are at Preston now with Covanta.
And we didn't have any say in that?
Nope.
I mean, I don't understand.
Well,
how-
we the city didn't. I don't know if the town had any say in that or not, but we are typically not invited to the SCARA meetings.
Is there was there an analysis done of what it would cost each member town?
This is Tim speaking. It did go out to bid. I believe SCARA put this out to bid. And
Okay.
Wheelabrator kept it for the first year at the $58 a ton, which we presently pay. Covanter and Preston was, I believe, in mid to high 60s for the new contract.
So I didn't know that. It went out to bid.
So this would have gone, Councilor Depot again, sorry. So it would have gone up either way. The vendor we were using would have been higher also?
Yes, the vendor that we were using, had they won the contract, would have went from 58 to, so you said 66?
It was the high 60s, yeah.
In the high 60s per ton. And so now, instead of paying that per ton, we're having to pay that in travel fee and time and diesel fuel.
Okay, is there a way that we can maybe get notified of what's going on with Sarah more effectively? Because that may have made this a little easier to understand had we known it was coming.
Yeah, I can reach out and see if I can be invited to the meetings. And then
Okay,
attend
thank
meetings.
you.
This is Counselor McCabe. I just wanted a clarification on what a tipping fee is, since that's an item that went up.
That's Tim again. That's what it cost us per ton for trash. It's $58 a ton to dump it at the site. And the recycling tip and fee, we've been paying $35 a ton. That went up to $75.
I'm in the process of getting a PSA out about how to recycle. I did one last week, or week before last. We haven't put it out yet, but I will talk to Dan Bose from the utility and get that put out, so that, because there are a lot of people that are throwing things away and recycle that should be waste. And so if you're paying $78 a ton, when it gets heavy, I mean, imagine with the waste, you're paying $78 a ton to throw trash away, which you could throw away for $58 a ton. Any other questions on
Councilor Depot again.
Councilor Depot?
How long is this contract with the new waste dump site?
I did know this, I can't remember right offhand. It is for at least 4 years that I know of, but I think it's only $58 a ton for the first year, and then it creeps up.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Carter.
Councilor Carter?
This is for Mr. Umberts. So, do we know how many towns are involved in the, I forget the, what we're a part of?
SCARA,
Yeah.
member towns, how many member towns of SCARA?
12.
There's 12 member towns in SCARA?
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong. So, it really doesn't matter if we're involved or not, meaning as council members, because if a town that's in Lisbon, say we got a contract here in Groton or somewhere very, very close, a town close to Preston could argue the same thing that we're arguing. So it's pretty much controlled, correct?
Well, I'm going to answer the question this way. We are part of we're part of a team. So in theory, there's economies of scale by going out and bidding, the several hundred tons of waste per year or several thousand tons of waste per year, as opposed to us not being in part of SCARA and then having to go out and negotiate that ourselves with both a recycler and a trash collection facility.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting to. So I'm saying that it seems like it's really out of Director Orms's hands. It seems like we just were on the opposite side where we have a fuel cost because it's a little further away.
Right.
So it's kind of like, and it would be no different there if we have to go to Mystic or go somewhere else, then we would be on the other end of the fuel cost. So
Right.
what I'm saying, it really doesn't matter as council members if we're involved in that or not.
Right. Okay. I understand. Any other questions or comments regarding sanitation? Okay, we're gonna, go ahead. Who is this?
This is Councilor Ortiz.
Councilor Ortiz?
Yes, sir. One question. Recycling and the trash pickup. So we have a couple of close communities, like apartments within our city site.
Correct?
That doesn't, okay, so, they pick up by the private, garbage.
That is correct. There are some, okay, typically we pick up residential, and there are some complexes that we don't pick up, that they have to contract out themselves for trash and recycle pickup.
Okay, got it, thank you.
And also private businesses as well.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding sanitation? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to building maintenance. That starts on page 86. Okay, this is public buildings. Tim Ummertz is also in charge of our public buildings.
We proposed a budget of $177,634, which is a 1.17% increase. It equates to $2,053. Pretty modest increases in personnel services, wages, and benefits is pretty much what it is.
So that's for the maintenance and general maintenance of this building. Any questions on building maintenance? Okay, that's it. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
And then the last the last account that we will talk about tonight is finance, and that starts on page 32. If you go to page 34, that's the actual first page of the budget breakdown. Oops, sorry. Well, 33 is the overall change, and then 34 is the budget breakdown. I'll turn this over to Director Uhas so that he can talk about the finance budget. Ron?
The proposed finance budget is $729,606, or just over a 2% increase from the prior year. If we flip to page 35, it has the breakdown. Salaries actually went down in the current year based on some turnover within the department, which kind of like Mary had talked about earlier with step increases that brought these positions back down to the first step. While there was some promotions internally within the department as well, so there's some changes going around with a few positions. So that's why you don't see really a change in the full-time employee piece. All of the benefits you'll see across the board with all departments when we look at medical insurance and general insurances and the pension, it was a standard 4% increase for all those across the board. So that's just kind of for all the funds and all the different departments. When looked down at the operating expenses, those went from 109,000 to 121. Increased $5,000 reserved for vehicles and equipment, and that's mainly a set aside for computers for the department.
Are there any questions on the finance portion of the budget?
This is Counselor Depot. I think Ron got cut off a little bit, but can you repeat why there is an increase of, why all of a sudden we have a $7,674 that we weren't planning in operating expenses, and then the $5,000 vehicle reserve?
Say that one more time.
What page are you on?
On page 35, under operating expenses, there's a big increase in the utilities fuel safety incentive line and the reserve for vehicles and equipment line.
The increase in the utility fuel and safety is there's an auto stipend that I received for going to Basra during the week, as that was a result as of the change when Mr. Clark retired, when we restructured the department. So that's the increase there. And the $5,000 increase in the reserve for the vehicles and equipment was due to putting money aside for computers in the next budget year for the entire department.
Okay, is that cost for your trips to Basra, is that getting split with the utility company at all? Or why is that not coming out of the utility budget?
The way that this budget is financed, if we flip back to page 34, this budget is financed 50% by the utilities. So there are costs that are not utility direct costs that still get split 50, and other costs. So the entire budget just gets split 50-50 between the general fund and the utilities.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the finance account of the budget? Okay, then that completes our portions of the city budget presentation for tonight. Ron, thank you. Tim, Mary, thank you very much. See you guys tomorrow. We'll move on to committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Resolution R-20-4-40. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the building department to purchase one model year 2020 Ford Escape from Gendra Ford LLC, 225 New Britain Avenue, Plainville, Connecticut, for the price of $24,470.70 to be paid from the fiscal year 2020 operating fund. I so move.
Counselor Depot, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there, this was discussed during the committee of the whole by Carlton Smith. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Councilor Stanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 20-4-41. Therefore be resolved in accordance with the provisions of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-474, parentheses B, the mayor and the city of Groton Council hereby accept the aforesaid agreement, and that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute said agreement on behalf of the city of Groton. I so move.
Counselor Depot, second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during executive session of last meeting. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Counselor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 20-4-42, therefore be it resolved that the, mayor and council grant Groton Utilities Management project approval to proceed with replacement of 128 30-year-old existing metal halide light fixtures at Avery Point campus with new ARC 080 LED light fixtures due to environmental corrosion for a total project cost not to exceed $254,500.00 as a non-budgeted project to be paid from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative Fund. I so move.
Councilor
Councilor
McCabe,
Campbell,
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This was discussed this has not been discussed with the council. This was discussed during the Groton Utilities Commission meeting. Director Gaudet, would you mind providing some information to the council on this and the next resolution? Because they're tied together.
This is a project to replace the streetlights that are owned by Groton Utilities on the Yukon Avery Point campus. Those lights have been there, as stated, for approximately 30 years, and they've reached end of life. This project was not planned. However, one of the things that came up in operations is we were looking for a fill-in project as we get over this COVID-19 thing over the next month, about a month or so, to get everybody up and working appropriately. So this project came up. It's been one that was on the sites, in the sites of the utility to get done. And then we also found the source of funds to fund it. So the Regional Greenhouse Gas Fund has approximately $800,000 in it. That money is in our account at CMEC, and this project, the replacement from metal halide lights to LED lights, is the appropriate use of those funds. So this resolution authorizes the project, which includes parts and labor. And then this next resolution you're going to see are actually to issue a purchase order for $153,000 to procure the LED lights that will be replacing the metal halide fixtures that are currently on the campus. Any questions?
Council Carr, just a statement. It would also make sense that the kids aren't on campus right now, no classes, period. So you guys can get in there and do your business without any worry about that end.
Counselor, that's an extremely good point.
Councilor Ortiz here.
Councilor Ortiz, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, just for me to learn about this. So these lights that we're going to exchange, they are inside the campus. But the campus doesn't have city roads.
Yes.
That's correct. Councilor Ortiz, these fall within the operational area of Groton Utilities. And Groton Utilities owns these lights. These are lights that are out in the parking lots and outside lights that they'll be replacing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Ortiz, 43, please.
Resolution R-20-4-43.
Yes, ma'am.
Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Wesco 15 Executive Boulevard, Orange, Connecticut, for an amount not to exceed 153, what is it, 100,000, $153,890.53 as part of the Avery Point Campus Project rebate from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative Fund. I so move.
Counselor Depot, second.
We have a motion and a second. The Director Gaudet had just explained that these are the actual fixtures that will be purchased to be replaced. Are there any additional comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Counselor Carter.
R-20-4-44. Result that the Municipal Council authorized Groton Utilities Management to provisionally approve change order number 14 from RH White Construction Company Incorporated, 41 Central Street, Auburn, Massachusetts, to provide additional compensation for additional time required by tradesmen due to inefficiencies in working around the abatement of PCB coded services and a 10-week increase in the contract time due to delays, and the work qualified coordination needed to complete this PCB abatement encapsulation in the water filtration plant to the general contractor and prime subcontractor impacted as part of the State of Connecticut Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, project number 2013-0140, pending final approval by the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health, and the amount not to exceed $465,335.98. And Mayor Keith Hendrick to authorize to execute the change order number 14 upon final approval by the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health. I so move.
Counselor Depot, second.
Counselor Stanford, second.
We have a motion and a second. Director Gaudet, could you walk us through this resolution?
Certainly. As we remember, last month, we actually approved or authorized a change order to allow for additional work for PCBs. And also in prior months, we have discussed the PCBs that we have found on the site being an issue that wasn't fully discovered and uncovered by Stantec, our engineering firm that wrote the specification for the job. So in the process of ensuring that we do all the PCB removals appropriately, RH White has incurred 10 weeks of delay, which results in a charge of about this $465,000, or results in this charge. So this charge is a result of the PCB problem that has been uncovered on the site. It covers the general conditions of an extension of a contract. It doesn't actually pay for additional scope to be done. It compensates the contractor for a delay, actual delays.
Are there any
Counselor Depot?
Councilor Depot?
I know that we've kind of discussed this at length in many meetings, but hopefully, you know, I know that the mayor, you said that at the end of this project, we're going to know the true cost, and then we'll, I'm sure, have a discussion at that point as well. I just want to, again, add my 2 cents that, you know, I hope that we are looking forward to making sure that this kind of delay and kind of issue isn't going to happen around some other part of the project. It's insane that we're spending almost $500,000 just because of an unforeseen delay. That seems like a lot of money. So I would just like to voice that, you know, hopefully we're on top of these things and are keeping these contractors in line going forward.
Councilor Depot, that's fully acknowledged and fully understood. This this change order, at one point, they were trying to include it in a PCB change order. And the project people at GU, Ray Valentini, Mark Byron, and everybody, and we all decided that we wanted the delay charges to be called out separately so that we can tally them separately and not entangle it with the actual removal of the PCBs. It is something that GU was going to be responsible for no matter what happened. So we asked that this be separated so that it could be tracked separately for a decision on exactly how to deal with it with the engineering firm later.
Thank you.
Any other comments regarding this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor McCabe.
Resolution R-20-4-45. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to provisionally approve change to group number 15 from R.H. White Construction Company Incorporated, 41 Center Street, Auburn, Massachusetts, to delete the remaining pipelining scope from the contract and provide material to Groton Utilities for the installation of a new 20-inch VICL ductile iron water main, which includes the widening and paving of the bituminous drive north of the storage tanks as part of the State of Connecticut Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. Project number 2013-0140, pending final approval by the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health in a credit amount of at least $483,922.63, and Mayor Keith Hendricks be authorized to execute the change order number 15 upon final approval by the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health. I so move.
Counselor Depot, second.
Stanford, second.
And we have a motion and a second. Director Gaudet, please walk us through this resolution.
In the original project scope, there was a plan to actually use a pipelining process to renew some of the piping that's in the driveway of the operations complex. The contractor, R.H. White, had a subcontractor that came out and tried to perform the pipelining. The pipelining process failed, and R.H. White didn't pay for that part of the work to be done. Subsequently, it was determined that we would not trust using that process to renew the pipes that were under the ground, and determined to pull that out of the project scope and actually replace it ourselves with our own distribution crew. So this is the credit that we got for Groton Utilities replacing that pipe. We actually did it, we finished it about 3 weeks ago, and it took about 6 weeks to accomplish. And we did this work ourselves. So this is the credit that we have requested they give us for that work that we accomplished for the contract, for that scope that we took out of the contract.
This
And
is Councilor McCabe. Can I ask a question?
Councilor McCabe.
Yes.
So if we did this work ourselves, do you have an accounting of how much it cost us to do it ourselves?
We do. It was on a work order. We have not been, the work order hasn't been closed out and tallied yet. But I can certainly get that number when it is.
I'm just curious if it's more or less than the amount that we were credited.
Oh,
And
it's
if
certain,
so-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it's less, are we evaluating different areas of this project that was remaining that we could potentially do ourselves?
The distribution crew routinely replaces pipes that are under the road. This part of the line was a larger diameter pipe than we're used to doing. It was 20 inches. That's about as large a pipe as our crew ever works with. And it was on our land out of the street. So it's not normal for our crews to replace such big line, but Ray wanted our guys to do it for the experience and to evaluate whether we should be involved in doing that more and more in the future. You also asked about the cost. Our labor cost is internal, and I'm pretty well guaranteed that we beat this price by quite a bit. But I'm glad you asked that question, and I will certainly get that answer.
But what's really cool about this is that our guys did this. They normally work with 6, 8, and 10-inch lines, but they felt comfortable that they could accomplish this task, and they took it on like troopers, and they accomplished without fail. And it passed the hydrostatic test, and in the end, it looks like it's going to save us some money. So that's great news. Any additional questions on this resolution?
This is Councilor Depot.
Councilor Depot?
Okay, I just would like to second Councilor McKay's request to get the full cost. I understand obviously we're using our own guys, so to separate that out by the job might take a little bit extra, but I would be interested to see the total cost of doing that ourselves versus having, what we would have paid RH White to do it. So I just wanted to tag on to her request.
Certainly, we will do that.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Council Stevens.
McCabe.
Councilor McCabe
Council
has,
Stevens, second.
Councilor, we have a motion and a second. We are adjourned. Council, thank you very much. Director G'day, thank you. Deb, thank you. We are adjourned. The meeting is over.